Hey, Fly Girl. I'm René Vengelsdorf, Aviation CEO, FAA Board alum, and high performance coach. Whether you're chasing your first discovery flight or leading at 40,000 feet, this show is your runway for bold career moves, real mentorship, and stories from women rewriting their flight plan. From the cockpit to the control tower, we're building the future of aviation one fly girl at a time. Welcome to the Fly Girls Guide podcast. Oh, I cannot tell you how excited I am to do this podcast. I am thrilled to have Dr. Becky Lutte on with me today. She is a mentor to me. She's an icon in the industry and has become a very good friend. Becky, thank you so much for being here to talk with us about what you do.
Oh, my friend, thank you so much for having me. I've been really excited about this. So it's going to be great for us to just catch up and chat, and I'm really looking forward to it.
I love it. Well, let's kick off by what is it that you're doing now? And then we'll dive into how you got there, what you do on a day-to-day basis, and how fun it is.
Sure. What I'm doing now is I am a department chair and an associate professor at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University for the worldwide program. So we have lots of degree programs and thousands of students globally that we serve through worldwide. And it's just a really fun position. I'm really enjoying it.
I love it. So you're still an associate professor. So tell me what your day-to-day looks like. What are some of the activities that you do in this role?
Yeah, so there's kind of two different hats, right? There's the department chair part of it and then the associate professor or professor part. So for those that pursue a career as a professor of aviation or a professor in a university environment, there's really three key elements that are generally involved in the job. And that's teaching, of course, research, one of my favorite parts, as you know, and then also service. So teaching is what you'd expect. So the typical part of the job would be, developing lectures, spending time with students, grading papers, all of those kinds of things. And then the research component is just one of the things that drew me into this profession, of course, is the opportunity to dive deep into doing hopefully impactful research on subject areas that are not only important to you, but are contributing new knowledge to the industry. And then the third piece is service. So we, as a faculty member, you're expected to, serve the university on committees, but also serve your industry and community in aviation. So for me, that's a lot through, a lot of different organizations that you and I are both a part of. Women in Aviation, Girls in Aviation Day, and then I'm also really active in things like Young Eagles, EAA, because we have a couple experimental aircraft. So really the teaching, research, and service components of it are kind of the basic components of the professor side of the job.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the research. One, because I know that you love that part of it, and really that's how we met, is in researching why there are so few women in aviation and aerospace and what we can do about it. And I know that research that you did before the study that we published was instrumental in sending us in the right direction, and research that you've done since then is impacting human factors in aviation. So what does it look like? Do you do surveys? Do you talk to people? How do you gather research?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm going to say that research starts with a great question. So, it's really, and one of the things I love about this job is the fact that aviation changes all the time. So it's clearly important for me as a faculty member to stay up with what's going on in industry. So it allows you to be really engaged with current trends. And as you're following those trends, you're going to find areas that you realize need to be explored further. Why is what's happening, and how can we, enhance workforce development? How can we improve safety? All of those things. So it really starts with triggering something of interest to you that you feel there's a need to address, or sometimes people bring things to me that they feel there's a need to address, and we work collaboratively on different things. But it all starts with that really good research question. And has it been done? Has it been addressed? Will it contribute new knowledge? And then you start talking about what you just said. Does that mean it's a survey, interviews, more quantitative research? Then you figure that part out after you get that solid, here's what I need to figure out first. So it's really kind of putting together a puzzle, and you get to work collaboratively with, because sometimes the answer to how you do it is something that I'm, feel really comfortable with. I do a lot of interviews and surveys and focus groups. But if it's something that's in a different area, then I find somebody that's an expert in that field, and we work together to solve that puzzle, if you will. So it's just a really fascinating piece of it, I think. And I'd love to sit and write when I get a chance to just sit and write, about the research we're conducting. It's just, I'm really in my happy place.
I think there's something about writing that helps you clarify your thoughts on things. So you have a number of published surveys. I know one of the things that you've been able to do and do well is to represent aviation to the US Congress and in various ICAO roles, and really influence policy that's being explored and written for aviators and the aviation industry as a whole. Is that a little nerve-wracking, or is it just another day?
Yeah, it's very nerve-wracking. But when you're really passionate about, what you do, it makes it a little bit easier, but it's very nerve-wracking. I was that kid in high school, Renee, that if you called on me, I would literally practically have a panic attack. I mean, the thought of even speaking up in class, let alone speaking in front of a House or Senate committee, and testifying, if you would have told me that back then, I would have said, absolutely no way. But, it comes down to, there's a great quote about speaking your truth and speaking it loudly. And when you find that you actually have something to say, it makes being able to speak to your truth a lot easier. And so, plus, that opportunity was such an honor to represent the work of so many people. I mean, that wasn't just about me testifying before Congress. That was about me representing the work of the FAA Women in Aviation Advisory Board, representing research by a lot of fantastic people that are contributing to this space. It's really honoring, and I was honored, and it's very humbling to be that voice for other people in that space. So it adds a little bit of pressure, yeah, but in the end, I actually thought it was a lot of fun.
Well, let's talk about when you were a girl in school, a little bit shy about raising your hand, and where you are now, kind of a world-renowned researcher in this field. Obviously, to be named the chair of the worldwide department for Embry-Riddle. What was your path to this? Like, how did you get where you are today?
Yeah, it's my path actually started with professional flight. So when I started in college as an undergrad, I went to school for engineering. And then my freshman year, when I was an engineer, I had always been interested in aviation. And that spring break, I went and talked to a couple people that were engineers. And then I also did a discovery flight. And that changed the path for me. The rest was kind of history there. Engineering is a great field. My son's an engineer, but that just sent me off in a different direction. So I really was pursuing pro flight. I mean, my goal was fly for United Airlines. That's what I was going to do. And I went and did all my rating certificates. I'm still an active general aviation pilot and aircraft owner. So I did all the certificates and ratings. I did fly for a commuter airline in the Midwest for some time. And then I just had this opportunity come up completely out of the blue, where I agreed to teach one class for a friend and colleague that I had met. And I said, I'll teach this one class for you, because they were starting up this new program. And then I'm going to go right, I'm staying with Flying the Line. And I just found something I absolutely loved. And I went, again, nobody was more shocked than me that being in front of a classroom would be something that I would end up doing. But I just loved the energy of being in the class. I loved the challenge of staying ahead of what's happening in industry. And that turned into, well, why don't you stay and teach a little more, and we'll pay for you to do a master's degree. which I did, and that turned into, we'll pay for you to do a doctoral degree so that you can dive deeper into research. So I did, all through University of Nebraska Omaha, which was just a wonderful place to be, and fully supported my path forward. So I did all that at the University of Nebraska, and then stayed with them, and then did some part-time teaching for a while, and then eventually made the switch to Embry-Riddle. But it's really just, discovering your voice as, a researcher was a big part of that path. I had some great colleagues that have helped me find that early on. What do you want to say? What do you want to be talking about? How do you want to spend your time? There's so many areas to research. How do you want to focus in? So for me, it very quickly became safety policy, because my degrees are in public administration with an emphasis on aviation policy. So safety policy has always been kind of the cornerstone for me, and then workforce development, which of course was also underrepresented groups. And then I also do a little side hustle, I say, or a side gig doing some sustainability research, just because I have an interest in that area. It's kind of fun to have something else kind of on the side to work in research. So yeah, I just kept following that path and collaborating with some really great people who were great mentors, and then ended at Embry-Riddle a few years ago, which just, elevated the opportunities in those areas. So it's just really been a great path.
Well, I love that one of the things that you're able to do now, and this is one of the great things about Embry-Riddle Worldwide, is that there are a number of servicemen and women around the world who are pursuing degrees or advanced degrees in aviation, and you get to work with them at Embry-Riddle. Tell me a little bit more about what you do as that department chair. I think that's probably a little bit different than your research and professorship.
Yeah, most definitely. And I'm really glad you pointed that out, because that's one of the things I'm really proud of at Embry-Riddle, and that is their award-winning support of our military students. So at Worldwide, just under half of our students are military. So we are able to provide, a great service and an opportunity for them to continue their education, and which will help them as they, transition their career. So, but as a department chair, it's a really fantastic position to be in, especially at Embry-Riddle, which is so forward-thinking in all that they do. So my role as a department chair is several things. One is, of course, degree program development and course development. So we have to constantly be looking at the degrees. Are we providing what the industry needs so that our graduates are day one ready upon graduation to meet the needs for the workforce for aviation? So we're constantly looking at, what does our degree look like? Do we need to add some things, take some things away? We're constantly redeveloping courses. I mean, we have, I think, 4 or 5 right now going on, different course developments that we're doing, just to update, to make sure that we're keeping everything current and up to speed. So there's that side of it. There's also, of course, the managing and leading of people, which is the most fun. We have an incredibly deep bench of super talented subject matter experts within this department. So it's incredible. That makes my job easier. So part of it is really for me to make sure that they have what they need to just thrive, because they can clearly do that. And the rest of it is me getting out of their way. So, so we just have, great opportunity to work with some great folks. And then, working directly with students, engaging with industry to collaborate and build partnerships, collaborating across our 3 fantastic campuses, actually 4. Now we have a place in Singapore that we've recently opened up. So cross collaboration. So those are the new challenges that come with being a chair, which is just a really fun opportunity to do.
And it's not a couple faculty members, it's hundreds of faculty members that you're working with. I think that's incredible.
So right now we have 20 full-time faculty and about 130 part-time faculty in the department. So yeah, about 150 or so faculty members that, but again, we have such incredibly talented people that it makes it a little bit easier to manage and lead that group.
I love that. Becky, what qualities do you think that someone needs to have in order to move from a professional career in aviation like you did into being an aviation professor instructor?
Well, there are a few things that you need in terms of credentials. So I'll start there. But then what we really look for is, the type of person, which I think is more what you're asking. But on the credential side for us, the general rule of thumb is that you have 1 degree higher than the classes that you're teaching. So at a minimum, if you're teaching undergraduate courses, you need a master's degree. Teaching graduate level, a doctoral degree. Most of what we hire for full-time faculty are of course, people with doctoral degrees of some kind, and a wealth of aviation experience. So that's kind of the criteria part of it. As far as what makes a good professor in our industry, it's really what makes you a great professional in any part of aviation. You've got to have a passion for it. It's got to really light you up, I mean, when being in a classroom, working with students, sharing your expertise, and the greatest part of the role, which I haven't even touched on yet, but one of the greatest parts of the role is that you get to play a small part in somebody's journey on their pathway to their aviation, career. So if that doesn't light you up, this isn't the place for you, but that clearly is the case for all the folks we have on our team.
I love that. One of the things that I've noticed about you over the years is that you take opportunities to advance your knowledge. And a lot of times you are able to do that with other people. I remember just being so excited for you when you told me that you were taking a group of students to spin training so that they could advance their aviation skill and their ability to fly safely and instruct others safely. And I know that you look for all sorts of different things like that. And I love that you're always learning as well. So I've noticed that about you and other aviation professionals, that the learning continues. And I think that's fun.
That's one of the best things about this job is you're a lifelong learner. I mean, you can't be a good professor if you're not a lifelong learner. So that's key.
Yeah, I may tell on you a little bit. I got to watch that in action this spring when you learned how to and got your type rating for float plane or seaplane. And that was so much fun watching you and one of our other friends just tackle that head on, and waiting out a thunderstorm to be able to finish your training and take your check ride was just something to behold. And the determination that you had there, I know, transfers well to the classroom.
That was a lot of fun. It was so much fun to have you there, for the support. And of course, you did some flying as well. So don't sell yourself short on that one at all. We all did. And I just think, you always have to get out of your comfort zone. Anytime you add on anything new in terms of flight, whether it's tailwheel endorsement, seaplane rating in this case, or other, I mean, it just takes your basic stick and rudder skills to another level. So it just enhances overall your flight skills when you do that. It was definitely getting out of the comfort zone to do that in 3 days. As you know, you saw us hit the learning plateau and struggle through that. And I think sometimes, honestly, as a professor, it's good to go back and be that student again and experience that learning plateau and what it takes to push through it, how it feels when you get to the other side. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was really glad you were with us.
What things do you see coming in aviation that are going to provide some really great job opportunities? Or maybe if some people are already gaining some of those skills that would be great to have in the classroom training other aviation professionals?
Yeah, good question. So as far as what's coming, there's a couple of key areas we hear about a lot from industry in terms of workforce needs. One, of course, is advanced air mobility, the eVTOL market. And it's not just the eVTOL itself as an aircraft, but it's everything that represents. It's the job market for everything from designing battery and battery integration into systems to vertiport structure and how it impacts our airport structures and how it impacts regulatory policy and safety policy. I mean, that one example just has jobs that just, spread out throughout the industry in order to support it. So that's a big part. We're hearing a lot from industry about students being able to effectively use AI and manage how AI will be used in the future of aviation. But then there's also, we can't throttle back on some of the really key, tried and true, essential elements to aviation, and I will continue to say that I think the maintenance workforce shortage is one of our biggest threats in the industry. So I think we have to make sure that we're continuing to recruit in really key areas like maintenance, and also in the pilot area as well.
Absolutely. I know we looked at this when we were studying why there aren't as many women in aviation, is thinking about being away from home as much as being a flight attendant or a pilot might require, and still being present for family. And I know that, that may not have been your driver, but that was a benefit for you to be able to be present for your family since your husband's also a professional pilot. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how staying in aviation and taking a teaching role could kind of scratch that itch, if you will, and what it might afford you to be able to do if you're in a role where you're being a role model and a professor or teacher, even if it's just part time.
Yeah, it definitely was a part of the decision for me. When like I said, I was flying the line and then started teaching at the collegiate level, just as to try it as a new experience. But what I quickly discovered was, with both of us flying the line and at that point, starting a family and young kids, this did give me an opportunity to stay very engaged in aviation, still fly recreationally, but also explore this whole new career that, quite frankly, I didn't even know existed in aviation. And it's one of those great schedules. So as a professor, you get a good chunk of time off during the mid-semester break at the holidays. You get your summers off if you opt to have summers off. As a department chair, I don't. But my kids are grown now. But when they were younger, I could have that schedule that kind of coincided with their schedules at school. And it still allowed me to really stay involved in the field that I love to be a part of, but also, have a schedule that was beneficial for me, being at home too.
Well, tell me about the love of aviation in your family, because this is a theme. I saw this competitive side come out in you when you were able to get your seaplane rating before anyone else did in the family. And in fact, because you're already a CFI, it makes you an instructor for seaplane ratings. So I'm expecting you to teach the men in the family, right? Tell
We're
me,
already
tell
having
me a
that
little about
conversation.
that.
Probably not a big surprise. We're already talking about that. But yeah, so yes, we do have a little bit of family competition that we like to let me rephrase it. Yes, we are a little bit competitive in this family. And we do have a lot of aviation in the family. So I guess I probably started in aviation because my dad, was a retired Air Force. And so I grew up around military bases and Air Force bases. And I had an uncle who flew for the airlines. So it was just kind of always in my orbit. And I think that's kind of where it started. But I met my husband at a small airport in Omaha when we were both in our flight training phases. And we both were flying the same commuter, in the Midwest for a while. And then he went on to the airlines. And of course, I took the professor route. And then we have two sons, one of which is the engineer, as I mentioned. And then the other is also a pilot. So he's flying for regional airlines right now. So yes, it was part of my drive to make sure that I was going to darn well finish that seaplane rating, was because it's the one rating that I have that the other men in my family do not have. So, and I remind them of that on a regular basis. It's kind of a running joke right now. But I don't think that will probably last too terribly long, because I had so much fun doing it. They'll probably be not too far behind me to add it on.
Yeah, I believe that. Well, one of the other things that's really fun about your family is that your husband has built several airplanes, and that I know has been a family hobby. Everybody gets pulled in with that. It's really a wholesome and fun and probably engaging and maybe challenging activity for your family that's been a part of your lifestyle for a long time.
Yeah, it is all of those things. So we've done 2 builds, but my husband's done 2 builds. I've bucked rivets and hung brake cylinders and fuel units and different things. And all of us have. So the boys have been a part of it. I've been a part of it. Steve is clearly the builder. But we have an RV7, which is a 2-place. It's kind of the sporty one, if you will. It's a fully aerobatic. It's got a smoke system. Built that, took about 7 or 8 years to do that build. And then, so had that airplane up and running, and then eventually it ended up doing an RV-10, a second build. So that RV-10 is very similar to a Cirrus in characteristics performance. And that build was done in 20 months over COVID, so much faster. And that's the family truckster, as I call it. So that's actually the one I fly more often, and that's the 4-place, cross-country kind of an airplane. So it's been great, and it's, just like the seaplane rating, when you do these things, it also opens you up to a whole new community in aviation. So once you're a builder, and you have questions and you start meeting other builders and working together, supporting each other, again, it's just that whole new GA niche that you find that opens up a whole new world for you. So not only is the airplane a heck of a lot of fun to fly, but the people are a lot of fun as well.
I love that. If you were going to recommend a couple of things for someone who's just entering aviation, what would be those recommendations?
There's so much in aviation to do. I would just say keep your eyes open and keep yourself open to the different opportunities that may come your way, because you never know. What will come along that, like I said earlier, you never know what will come along that's going to light you up and light your fire and get you really excited to try something new.
I love it. Becky, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us and your story with us, and most certainly your enthusiasm and passion about aviation, not just with us, but with thousands of other people across the industry.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to get the chance to hang out and chat with you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. For additional resources, head over to flygirlsguide.com. If you're inspired to pursue a path in aviation or want to support the women who do, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And if today's conversation sparked something for you, share it with a friend. It's one of the best ways to grow the Fly Girls Guide community. Until next time.